Good afternoon, all. I understand that, okay, this is post-lunch session, but equally interesting one because we have all the leaders and having a lot of experience in their uh, Renault field, which they come from. And as we see that, okay, we have a lot of discussion happens related to the digital transformation, and everybody is knowing about the fact that, okay, we are getting into a lot of transformation in terms of IT, in terms of even to the new field, which is called industrial control systems as well, wherein now the attack vector is also spreading across the platforms. Not only it is not limited to IT now. So as we grow up, as we have more and more digital transformation into place, we are open up for more threats basically. Hence where we are here to discuss about, means from the leaders, what they think about from a cybersecurity point of view, wherein this digital transformation journey, what are their views to have that, okay? So means I'll go one by one. First of all, a very warm welcome, sir, all of you. Yeah, and I know that, okay, you've been part of this in and out in your areas as well and in your industry as well, wherein you have seen these transformations from uh, going from IT now towards a very different scale to have that. Yeah. So just from that perspective, what means from your point of view, I would directly go to Alok sir, wherein what do you feel from a digital transformation point of view, wherein DGCL have a kind of things to have that, means from a freight industry point of view?
My apologies. Before I answer your question, disclaimer, views expressed are personal, do not in any way relate views of my organization that I serve today or any that I have served in the past. Digital transformation has seen transformation, as I may say, not just digital transformation. Transformation is the way of life, and digital transformation has seen immense traction over the last decade or so, ever since, I would not like to relate it to the government, but yes, that vision is of the present leadership, which talked of digital delivery of services. And customer centricity in digital transformation was a great enabler, and you have multiple examples of DPIs which are doing brilliantly and at the scale as well as the number of people that it serves. So it is not surprising that no sector has been left out, and transportation sector or logistics, if you may like to call it, has been a beneficiary of the digital transformation that is going on, and more so with the latest technologies which are coming up, which are improving both your availability, reliability, survivability. All these factors which one would want to call are immensely increasing the parameters on which you would want to evaluate them. Lot of things that were unheard of in the past, tracking your shipment, tracking your cargoes, you are having real-time awareness. Real-time awareness helps you manage your ancillaries much better, what to do next. So the fishbone becomes much more clearer, which was earlier very kind of fuzzy. So I can only say yes, digital transformation has been a great enabler in the logistics sector for whether supply chain or transparency into what is going on and how it is going on. So, thanks.
So means on the same, wherein you have discussed about the real-time requirement, and it's a need of hour. Means after all, we are actually we know that, okay, even from a app like Blinkit, Zepto, we need all these, right, to have this from a quick aspect point of view. But what it costs. So what challenge do you see from a IoT automation, wherein digital transformation is okay, means to have that, but and from your point of view, what cybersecurity challenges you think of, means with respect to this?
So when you come to IoT, they are the eyes and ears of the digital transformation now. So it is the same thing as if you have weak eyes and ears, all sensory organs, if they are weak, you will have a very weak receptor and very weak response to activities. So first is IoT is, again, since the very name of the equipment specify. That is again it is very much like OT following IT protocols. So it has again very less compute, very less memory. Now memory is being inbuilt, the driving power. So in each segment, improvement is going on. But compared to a resilient IT infrastructure, resilient or normal IT infrastructure, the IoT has all these resources in much more scarcity. So when you have that much more scarcity, you can't ensure end-to-end security using IoT in a reliable manner. There are always a trade-off. There are always trade-offs. So the minute you say, okay, say encryption gone out of the sequence, or you bring encryption, the IoT size increases. The minute you say proprietary protocols, so then you have to speak in a manner, converse in a manner between systems, which becomes very OEM-centric. That's the first part of it. And the minute the device gets restricted in its capability, the designer looks more at the purpose than security by design or security. First requirement is it should serve the purpose. Security becomes a secondary, even from the designer perspective, even from the user perspective. In any case, security or cyber security, which leads to vulnerabilities. So in any case, this cyber security orientation, we have been, I will say, slightly late to latch onto the bandwagon, because you have created an infrastructure, you have created an ecosystem, but security was not a primary concern. When you started suffering, then you started security as a bolt-on. And when you bolt on security on devices that are very scarce resources, there are vulnerabilities galore. And then there are issues with respect to the patch management, etc. OEM support. There are many OEMs who are assembling things in India and now OEM. The support for patches for them, that person also did not know that whether there is a vulnerability in this device or not, because the OEM was sitting somewhere else. So these are the kind of things which actually bring a lot of challenges in the cyber domain, especially from the IoT perspective. Thank you.
And thank you very much, sir. And the way you have explained the difference between the security by design and what is required from a very initial point of view, because that's where the crux is. It's all, a lot of OEMs are there, right? A lot of vendors are there. Well, all these are interoperable ecosystem, basically. And I think all of you understand that, okay, all these integrations are very complex. And getting into nitty-gritty of all these is a very, you can say that, vigilant thing to have, rightly put from a perspective, and thought through, insightful thing which you have mentioned, Alok sir. I'll come back to you, means we have few more things to have. So, Mayan sir, from your point of view, means as we talked about real-time systems, real-time controls, wherein we are actually getting into the automation operations, where do you see, means from a automation standpoint, specifically wherein it is moving to the other aspect or non-IT aspect to it? Means from that perspective, what do you see, means from a cybersecurity point of view, your point of view, you want to have that? You can have that.
If I have understood your question correctly, it means how the automation is providing more landscape of threat, or in terms of the convenience to the customer and customer, how we are going to do it, and what is the role of IT in this particular part. So I'll put it into like this. Let's say go beyond 120 years back, then we find that we as a world were in an era of developing and installation of projects sort of a thing. And certainly in the last 40-50 years, the projects have reached to a level where most of the developed countries have leveled to a let's say stationary line on that. It's not jumping bump and bump. Then the era has moved into an operation and maintenance phase. Like in India itself, there was a lot of projects. We started metros in 99, and then after this 25-26 years, all of the lines are mostly commissioned and we are moving into an operation phase. So earlier we were in a project management phase where IT had a role. Yes, it was a role there, but it was not proliferated in such a manner that it was providing any threat sort of a thing, because it was not directly related to the public at large. But when we put into an operation and maintenance perspective like now, so automation and the information to the public is a prime mover in any convenience or any service you provide. let us put into a service sector type of a thing where each and every service now the customer or the consumer needs automation. Like you want to know how much duration is there to make bus available, taxi available or train available. Meaning whatever your operational technology was, how the system was running, this operational technology has to be integrated to IT so that this automation information is real time available.
Yeah.
Now when we integrate this OT part, it was primarily a closed sort of a network, and now you are integrating this OT part to IT for that digital transformation or let's say automation. Then your threat is multifold, because now you are not dealing with only the information part but also the controlling part of that system or project or product. In that sense, as per our understanding, there need to be a certain hardware based lining in between them so that automation is all the time available, but the information flow is not from let's say outside of IT towards OT side, but OT is providing the information to IT, meaning completely that automation is still at the available terms, but the threat landscape is being minimized in that sense.
Completely means with you, wherein you talked about threat landscape and specifically to the area wherein operations are getting impacted, right? And these areas are not very, the people are not very aware means from these threats. So, means from your dual role perspective, how do you see, as in means from a the role you are playing your company, that okay, how do you foresee that okay, what all things you need to do in terms of getting these means gray areas to be covered, mostly from a resilient point of view, and keeping these areas secure, because we know IT is mature, right? People are aware, means they need not to share the password and all those things. But to this extent, means hope you are taking some steps in your industry also. What was those? If you can share with us here.
You very rightly question, because the ecosystem what we have developed till now for this cybersecurity landscape is that IT has been topped up with security of OT, but these two are entirely different region of play. You see, IT is primarily being monitored, and you can have penetration testing, you can put your devices anywhere in that network and then you can find out where the threat agent is. But OT, you cannot penetrate into that network. These protocols are proprietary protocol. Even then, the softwares and everything available is such a way that you cannot just put in some firewall, something like that, and it is secured.
Yeah.
So, but automation and digitalization is always needed, because
Yes,
that information has to be profiliated to the public at large so that they can utilize their services. So primarily, earlier it was a concept of demilitarized zone. You demilitarize zone and then you find out everything. Because when you are doing this, it is only one-way traffic of communication. What we have done in NCRTC is that we have let's say 12 type of vendors available, because there are 12 different systems which are coordinated in such a manner then the train runs at that particular frequency with that service. So, and these vendors are not only as an Indian centric, they are across the world from different protocols, different systems. So what you do, you have these, what we have done a hardware based gateways. These are particularly the data diodes, or we can say optical fiber based and electronic content, both works on the same way. They have some pros and cons of both, but let's say that data diode is the basic term. Now you put your OT informations into a main server, proliferate with the data diode, and then again a server which is communicating to outside IT, or let's say cloud.
On a specific zone.
On a specific zone. Now you, from the IT side, you are not asking any information from OT. All the logs, all the information is being pushed towards the IT side. So one end you have fortified your OT, nobody is controlling from outside, and you have a closed networks available. At the same time, all information you are pushing towards IT side through that one directional, unidirectional gateways. So if any, at let's say any point of time, somebody want to play a threat agent and push yourself into this cannot be done, because it's electrically isolated. It's a one way. It's a like it's a power communication. You cannot send from plus to minus, minus to plus again. So this way you have controlled this. Now question arises that whether inside threat how you are managing, because it is more difficult to manage the insider threats. For that, what we have done, we have taken a passive node of switches and routing of the network. These passive nodes have been intelligence built on them, so they know that which terminal is allowed what to do. Now supposedly some threat agent comes and put his or her devices into the network. Immediately that switch, that portion of the network is being shut down, that you cannot perform any activity from right now. So when you integrate OT with IT, these two basic philosophical architecture, if we start following, then we are good to go, apart from that OT security plus that automation.
Very rightly mentioned, and I think means from just to give you a perspective, I think we all knows about the diodes, right? We know about the firewall. Firewall is to kind of filter the traffic which is getting into a particular network. Similarly, diodes are, but the only difference is to avoid the two-way communication. So firewall cannot restrict the two-way communication, hence the diodes are. So just to actually explain, I hope all of us are aware about this, but to be on same page. That's what, thank you very much, sir, for this, because this is more insightful and the need of hour for having that. Yeah, hi. AK sir, hi.
Thank you.
I know you because anyway, we're also working in NTPC related to this cybersecurity requirement for the IT/OT infrastructure. So from your perspective, wherein you know that, okay, NTPC operates in energy area, and you know that, okay, the need of our end to, there are certain attacks that also happens, right? Means from that perspective, what do you feel, means from a cybersecurity point of view, that, okay, energy sector at least, what needs to be, what energy sector is doing right now, and from your NTPC point of view, few steps which you also have taken, if you can explain this.
Okay, good afternoon all. For this, actually, see, in energy sector, we are not directly have any retail business, so to say.
Yeah.
But then this is critical. Unlike other sectors, the impact of this is immediate. In other sectors, you will find some minutes, some hours, some days gap. But in power, if something goes, and it can impact across country, grid-wise, it can go. Now that way, it is critical. So, what we think, our thinking is, first, don't start with threat, don't start with protection, don't start with vulnerability and all these things. Start with resilience.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, how fast you can bring, and then minimize the blast area, so that if something goes, because something will go wrong. See, you cannot protect a threat. A threat will come, certainly come. It is a matter of time. Now, if that threat comes, what is the blast area? That means how far it can impact, and then how to come back. That means you have to zoning. Okay. In IT, zoning is perfect, but in OT, how do you make zoning? You have to segregate things. That means we have a thinking that unless any system doesn't require functional connectivity, they need not be connected. Just for any region, there has been a thinking to connect your units to get centralized SOC, or we have a thinking, even in a plant, there are 5 units, there will be 5 SOC. Okay. Adjacently sitting 5 SOCs, absolutely, probably 5 more manpower will be required. Anyway, we are not set up in India, we are not set up manpower. So we can, it is good. So that is our thinking. And coming back to, once you are, okay, this resilience part, 1 unit goes, how you will come back. Then come, what can go wrong? What can go wrong with hardware can go wrong, software can go wrong. In software, what are the entry points? Entry points to the software, that means if we say in IT, OT both, the entry points are internet, mail, USB and VPN. I don't think any other fifth thing to come in, the entry point. So you have to seal the entry points. You must seal your internet points. You must seal your email points, USB and all these things. Plus, architecture-wise, there must be done something. That means, see, in an organization, even IT setup, there are outgoing traffic for internet browsing, then there are inward connections for your servers. Now, should they be common? I don't think so. If you segregate them, that means from server there should not be any outgoing connection towards internet. That means, what that means is, even if your server is infected with ransomware, malware is there, it cannot be activated because it doesn't have any internet connectivity. Now this way, the server is saved. Basic architecture, so these type of basic things, we focus more on the basic things because we know things will fail, things cannot be patched timely, there will be bad persons, there will be bad systems. So how to, this resilience part we see. Plus, thing is, this vulnerability part, high tech, whatever we are taking, we must find the vulnerability. That is the first point. So I think once the reliance part is there, then you need to find out. The first part is, how do you find out the vulnerabilities? And vulnerability, I mean, people, process, technology. Vulnerability not only in the machine, vulnerability in people, vulnerability in processes. Now, how do you find it? Adequate cybersecurity, adequate audit, adequate certification, adequate following the standards, and all these things. So these are all stepwise approach, prioritize the things. We can first, lowest hanging fruit we should take first, whatever. Once the lowest hanging fruit goes, then we should aim for higher things. We should not be spending our resources, time, money, and manpower on things which are very difficult to achieve, or it is hugely resource intensive. That is our approach. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, sir. You have actually explained it, because I was having following question, but you have, you did answer that. But one question means from NTPC point of view, since you have a very large area to cover, and I am specifically talking from a awareness point of view, wherein at a central level it may happen that okay, people are aware, means from these requirements which you have just mentioned about email. How do you see that okay, at the ground level, at the plant level, all these awareness can be spread across, and what all things can be done, means from that perspective to have that visibility?
In awareness, actually, our approach is slightly different. When we say awareness, give them session, train them, and all these things. Actually, we start ownership. Now, we make people own their activities. When we say ownership in OT, people say, train kara do, they are not coming for training, training to karaya, and they just don't know. Now, how do you make, there must be an owner for that firewall or that server or application. Make that person own up everything. That means whatever happens, if you can make them understand that whatever happens on this is my responsibility. Then that person will come running, give me training, I want to understand this. And that goes for all user also. Each and every user must own up their action. If something goes, but then you have to find out. Like ours is a closed network. Closed network means in business network there is no internet gateway except data center and DR. Now if somebody connects that to a external network, because somebody can, some intelligent person can connect USB or USB is blocked, but some Wi-Fi connection, something they can connect external network or something. Direct internet from our business network. So you get at SOC level alert, this is connected to some external network. Now you give some exemplary warning or something that this is has been identified that you are connecting to external networks, and escalate it so that at least in general people know, yes, there is a visibility to whatever we are saying, and that is enough to have that awareness. And then for training and all these things, there is interest in that. Now, if people, involvement of people is most important. They have to be involved. You cannot just give training or awareness sessions.
No, very rightly mentioned, sir. One thing is you have rightly quoted as the self-accountability, which is most important. We understand that, okay, means from an IT point of view, we held people accountable and they know about the penalties and the, we called it deterrent control from that perspective. But yes, thank you very much for that, sir. Now coming to, means Anvaya sir, means from the uh, grid perspective means, since again this is the critical sector where it's you're handling, uh, most of the things you have already, I mean, seen that, okay, discussing. Now I come to specifically from a uh, cyber risk mitigation, wherein the integrations are there from the SCADA and from the uh, energy management point of view. So what cyber risk do you foresee in that area, and specifically from your point of view, wherein your perspective basically, to address these risks?
Thank you. To very specifically answer your question, obviously, some of the controls has already been discussed, like people control, process control, audit, and obviously technologies like data diode for integration of IT and OT. I'll try to touch upon some different area altogether. Means from as a grid operator perspective, our challenge is manifolded because of the fact that we are, we are not vulnerable only from the inside or from the electronic security perimeter, which belongs to us as a Grid India, as we are connected to all the state layer load dispatch centers, all the generators, everyone. And our business process, for our business process, it is very important that all of them give me the right data, right
True
information.
that.
So availability of the information, integrity of the information from those stations which are not our control are also equally important to us. So there lies the biggest challenge of implementing information security when most of your information is not coming from a source which is owned by you. But how we approach that, first and foremost, obviously, is that's why we stress upon collaboration is the key for from our perspective. Obviously, when we talk about implementation of security in IT and OT, and they are different, I personally believe, as per my experience, the approach remains same. The framework remains same. 27001 is equally applicable for OT and IT. There could be some additional control which is available in 27019, which you can refer for power sector. But basic, say the NIST framework of, say, identify, protect, detect, respond. So that is also same. The basic concept is same. The only difference is there could be certain technology which is, or certain protocol which is important for IT, which is not much applicable in OT, and there could be certain things which are applicable in OT, which is not there in IT. But that segregations we can do, but from the people and process as well, it's more or less same. So what we are doing now is that first and foremost, we are trying to collaborate, and we are trying to make people across India, across those utilities who are connected. There are different levels of utility. Means once we are connected with NTPC, so the level of maturity of these type of organizations, and we are connected to very small SLDCs. It's I'm not naming anything, but it's like that. Their maturity, their manpower strength, their investment, everything is different. So we have to take them apart, all together. So we have to make them on board. So there are certain Government of India funds, scheme, everything, and handholding activities we are continuously doing. And I believe what is most important, that whenever we talk about implementation of controls, you will find that many of these agencies, the implementation of control, including the administrative control, the policies, procedure, whatever is in place, including even the cyber crisis management plan, those are not being developed, documented by the organization people themselves. The risk assessment are not being done by the organization people, mostly are done by the consultant. Policy and procedure are written by the consultant, not by the organization themselves. CCMP is a document that has been curated or has been drafted as a copy of some model CCMP and then been weighted by CERTIN and then been adopted. So what we are now trying to do, we are trying to involve the people, as said, they're getting that ownership, but we are trying to involve those people who are supposed to do it. In our organization, like in risk assessment, we have said every risk owner, each and every process owner should identify his risk and document it. Similarly, we are making drives in SLDCs, etc. also, so that they also come up with the similar approach. And so whatever the document they are preparing, whatever the policy they are preparing, they own that policy, they are capable of operating that policy. There could be gaps in that policy, but maybe there are, say the policy is 60% okay, but at least those 60% are implementable. But if you have a 100% okay policy developed by someone and your own people don't know that, then the policy is not even implemented 20%. So that is what is our approach and how we are basically trying to imbibe a culture of security across India among the power utilities with help of obviously all the organizations which are in place.
No, you rightly mentioned, wherein most of the organization have CCMP, but the awareness of the CCMP is not there. People are not fully aware what they need to do at the time of crisis, right? What role they need to play. So all these are very important, and since we are also consultant, we know that, okay, the level of implementation which are there on ground. You rightly mentioned it, yeah. Only one more thing, since I'm asking this to all of us, that, okay, because awareness is a very key aspect for all these areas. How do you feel that, okay, since you have a lot of integrations, right? So from your perspective, from a Grid India perspective, what do you feel that, okay, what step you need to take to have this awareness? One thing is you rightly mentioned that, okay, you are onboarding all these integrations, vendors, processes, but more from that, okay, you need to convey this thing that, okay, this is our policy process, minimum is required to have, and on top of that, you need to address that. So from that perspective.
Yeah, from that perspective, again, I should say that we all know that security implementation comes in layers. No? It's like an onion where you have to peel off every layer of that, and you go deeper, and your crown jewel could be kept in very deep inside where there are a lot of layers of security. While you are implementing those layers of security, you have to understand that everyone cannot be equally matured. At every place you cannot put equal layers of or levels of security. Say I'm just giving many a time I have discussed in many forums. I'm just giving you an example that say I want to forget about cybersecurity. I want to protect physical security of say Parliament. Now all road leads to the Parliament. See a small village town somewhere in say Kerala. Also you can starting from that place you can reach to the Parliament. So can you really think, okay, as these two are connected, so I'll put equal amount of security as I have in Parliament at that small village? You cannot do that. So you need to have that layered approach in implementation of security. Now from the awareness perspective also it is the same. That those who are basically handling your crown jewel, you need to train them at the highest level. So what we are doing, we are tying up with various institutes like say Rashtriya Raksha University, IIT Kanpur, IIT Kharagpur, where we have curated courses, very customized courses on advanced cybersecurity, AI-based tools for that, how we can implement and maintain the security posture. While at the remote layer, what we are doing, we are trying to make them aware what are the do's and don'ts, what you should do, what you should not do. And obviously on top of that, we are trying to have a certain guideline, regulations published by CEA. We are giving a lot of inputs to that in the ministry, etc. also, that at least basic guidelines and regulations should be in place, strengthen them, like in IGC, we have that chapter 8 where we talk about a lot of cybersecurity initiatives we have to do. So strengthen them with those regulations so that people are not only aware, they are compliant with the security requirements. That is also important. That's how we do it.
Thank you very much. And I think this is important that, okay, how we are building up this overall awareness is from that perspective. Now, yeah, hi, Sanket sir, from, since you are also into renewables, and wherein renewable energy projects involve extensive data collections and sharing. So from your point of view, how do you manage these key things from a privacy point of view, from a security point of view, specifically wherein you see that, okay, most of the informations are quite critical, which you need to handle.
So before I answer, I'll just brief about the organization where I'm from. It is Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency. The role of this organization is to finance the new and renewable energy sector in this country. So we are basically working in terms of developing the clean and green energy in this country. So whatever financial assistance is required to anybody in terms of developing this sector, we are one such organization which is doing this funding. Now, as a part of the working of this organization, if this question particularly pertains to data security, like whatever data we are collecting, how important that data is, and what we are doing in terms of making it secure and putting controls over it. So if I talk about data, I can bucketize that data in 3 buckets. One data is the data for the renewable energy projects. Other data is the financial data, because IRDA is also an NBFC, non-banking financial company. And being a non-banking financial company, a lot of financial data is also a part of the working and system. And the third data is the data of the stakeholders. Our stakeholders are the people who are seeking financial assistance from us. So if I talk about the data is basically whatever is coming in the form of the loan application, the kind of financials they are providing to us so that we can appraise their projects and everything. So these 3 kinds of data have 3 different treatment in terms of control. If I talk about renewable energy data, it is a very critical data. Per se, it is not a cyber critical infrastructure, but since it pertains to energy, it is very important. And this data for the future is also very important, because IRDA as an organization was established in 1987. But renewable energy gained traction only after 2014, and now we all know that it is the future. So this particular data has 2 applications. One is the historical data can pave the way for the future, like what we have done wrong in terms of financing and developing this sector, and what corrective measures we can take from that data. Other data is, since this particular data could pose a risk in terms it is available to any other country or any of our adversaries, so in that case protecting that data is very important. I will talk about how we are doing the protection at all the 3 layers, but this is one category of data which is very crucial for us. Other category is the financial data. IRDA being a listed company, financial data per se becomes very important, because it decides the economy and everything. So that data is also very important to be protected. And the third data is the data of the people who are applying for loan. So DPDP comes into picture, because basically whatever data they are providing to us, that also contains PII, personally identifiable information. Now, how we can collectively put controls and security on this data? We are one such bold organization which has taken many steps, like we are pretty much pro-cloud. Though people say that, whenever there are concerns with respect to data, let's just not go to cloud, let's develop our own data center. But what we have understood is we also have a SOC. We are in the process of developing it, Security Operations Center. But the kind of SOC you develop and the kind of SOC which AWS or Azure has, definitely they are better in that context. We do not per se put everything on the cloud. We put certain things on premise and things which are not that critical on the cloud. So it's a hybrid infrastructure. One basic antibiotic I can say for protecting everything is ZTNA, Zero Trust Network Access. And since we are not into retail financing, what we are doing is, even if somebody is trying to apply for loan, they have to create an account, and that account creation involves authentication. And that authentication is either passwordless authentication or through authenticator app. It's not just username and password. Whatever data is being entered, whatever is PII, that is encrypted. Whatever is non-PII, that is saved in plain text, but obviously behind the firewall. And that is how we are protecting it. Even at the internal level, none of the applications have a single factor of authentication. So this is the bare minimum you can do in terms of protecting the data. Rest of the things have already been talked about in terms of protocols, in terms of firewall, in terms of appliance-based protection, appliance-based security. I'm not going to repeat that. But these are the basic steps. If you try to incorporate in your working, that is going to bring a great change in the overall security posture of the organization.
And true that, because you mentioned about the SESE layer, wherein now the need is that, people want information, means irrespective of the place which they are, right? And they want that handy information, the critical information. That's why the integration is important, hence the industry is moving towards that.
Correct.
But keeping what data which we are having, it's the sensitivity of the data, like NTPCs of the world, grid of the world, they have their own restrictions in terms of putting that thing. So from means you know that okay, as from an India perspective, we are moving towards a large scale means renewable energy future. So how you think that okay, your organization is thinking of that from your perspective, and specifically wherein you know that okay, there is a lot of requirement coming in.
Right.
So what all, and this is all specifically from a cybersecurity point of view, since we are discussing that. So what do you think from that perspective? What all steps which you are foreseeing to have
Right.
from your point of
So
view?
what happens is the industry is demanding that the transformation has to happen very rapidly because this sector has to grow very fast. And for that, we also have to have a huge level of digital transformation within the organization. By digital transformation, I think the definitions have changed. For example, since the question is particularly in the context of cybersecurity, so I'll answer that first. That the conventional way of cybersecurity was reactive. That something happens, then you act on it. Now the perception has changed, it is majorly proactive.
Yeah.
So if you have a SOC, you need to have essentially three important things, which is SIEM, SOAR and UBA. Security, incident and event management, all of the things which are the part of your organization and protecting the network and the data need to communicate with each other and centralize their incidents and events. So that is SIEM. SOAR is security orchestration, automation and response. Now this huge chunk of data need to yield some intelligence. So for that you need to have SOAR. And UBA is basically now
behavior,
that
yeah.
AI and ML is pretty much into picture. So user behavior analysis.
Yeah.
With that also you can take great proactive actions. And as we have repeatedly discussed that major threats are within the organization, not outside the organization. So if you tap on the behavior of a user implementing UBA, you are able to manage many leaks which usually happen.
Exactly.
You can see the change. Like there is a very important thing, impossible login. What is impossible login? That at 10 a.m. you are logging from Delhi IP and at 10:01 you are logging from Chennai IP. It is practically impossible you can travel to Chennai in 1 minute. So the AI ML is intelligent enough to block your login the next time and it will force you to change the password. Yeah. And this happens absolutely automatic. I mean, nothing, no intervention. At the end of the day, I'll get a report, okay, these are the risky users identified in this particular time frame and this is the action we have taken. Now you can repatriate or whatever you want to do with those users, you can do that. So this is how we are, digital transformation is a need, but cyber security is not coming at the back of it. It's running parallel to it. So even though digital transformation is not happening at a greater pace, that's fine. But we cannot put everything at risk just in the, in this particular race of transforming everything and not focusing on security. So we are going hand in hand.
And again, means AI bot also required to be tested again.
Exactly.
That is also one more requirement.
Right. Because
to
now
have.
cyber security attacks are also AI driven.
Yes, yes.
So you need not to have very,
Correct.
great amount of network knowledge to do that.
Yeah, means coming to you, sir, means from
Thank
your
you.
point of view, means since we are discussing all about it.
Definitely.
So what do you think from a digital transformation point of view, if anything left which you want to share, the perspective of cybersecurity which is left being discussed, and within your organization, how you are actually dealing with it?
So I come from an organization which is a very customer-centric organization. I come from Punjab National Bank,
Yeah.
and finance is a very critical aspect when we come to digital transformation. And because of digital transformation, we do have to, as Sir said again, we have to have cybersecurity in parallel with the transformation. The history of digital transformation, if you, it was computing in 2 decades earlier, apps in the last decade, and now we are going ahead with AI and ML. Obviously, the risks are unexplored. The genesis of AI and ML was obviously not for deepfakes in its true sense. However, we are seeing that organizations are running ahead with imbibing AI and ML, generative AI and ML, without understanding the risk, without taking a risk-managed approach towards this digital transformation. So, in the pursuit of, to go ahead in the digital transformation, sometimes that risk-based approach is missing in what I have felt in organizations. For example, even in the cloud adoption, we do understand that, the SOC in the cloud service providers will be better managed, as sir said. But again, are these not all the countries that are, I mean, are all these companies not based out of a single entity? Can government of India not have a cloud service provider as a PSU itself? I mean, since this is a PSU transformation event.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yeah, there are certain gaps from a policy as well as technical point of view that is missing in the.
Yeah, and just for your information, means I think you already know that even government is working. You see, various guidelines are being coming up, right? CA is one of the one which have rolled out few of the guidelines. SEBI have rolled out the guidelines with respect to adoption of
Adoption of cloud framework, yeah.
framework. Even RBI have rolled out the
RBI
IT
did.
outsourcing.
IT outsourcing, yeah.
So the major challenge which you are having from a cybersecurity point of view is, I think people can connect with that, the phishing kind of attack and the phishing kind of attack, right? Wherein people are means kind of getting access to the account level and then can have a major disruption from a monetary perspective. So what do you think means from that perspective can be covered from a cyber risk?
Sure. So the issues that you told for phishing and wishing, these boil down to the extreme fag end of our cybersecurity framework, which is also the most crucial regarding customer awareness, the consumer awareness. Something that you were also talking for the thermal and the grid thing. Because obviously customers are a very important, even in our supply chain, I mean, they are not a direct part, but they are the most crucial part for any organization, not just in the banking sector. In that end, because again, it's not just money when a cyber fraud or a scam happens, it's not just money that the customer loses or the bank loses, it's also the trust.
Yeah.
And the banking as a domain of work is entirely built upon trust, more than what it is built upon finance. So that is.
Now, coming back to Alok sir, means from a logistics standpoint, means we have discussed a lot. And so what steps means from a cybersecurity point of view, specifically in the area wherein you are into, when you see that, okay, all these concerns related to integrations, related to the logistic, related to privacy. So what are your key things which you want to implement as soon as possible, which you see that, okay, this is the need of the hour and you can't get without it actually?
That's a very open-ended question. Probably take a day to address that. But first is the cultural shift. Governments have been used to working in a particular way, and there is a standard dictum which is always held up: don't tinker with something which works. So that's the first part of it. Second is the realization that cybersecurity is a reality. Cyber threats are a reality. And gone are the days when people used to do it as script kiddies or normal. Even ransomware I consider today as a low profile attack, because the kind of infrastructure that we are in, or the rail operations, it is not a target for a normal threat actor. It is a state actor target. State actor target at a strategic point. You have to move something very important at a point in time, mission critical, time critical, and at that point in time, your infrastructure is brought down. The country and the economy will come to a grinding halt. We have just had an example. We had this Op Brahma. We were supporting, aiding Myanmar in the earthquake. The Globe Master, best of the machinery that you can have from best of the sources, had a GPS spoofing attack. So if these are the kind of threat vectors, and obviously in a foreign territory, a best of the best machine of the world gets spoofed. So you just realize the threat landscape that exists. So, and when you are linear, spread across country, thousands of kilometers, most important thing, if the first thing that I am required to do, I am told today, what would you do? That one thing, asset visibility. क्या कहाँ लगा हुआ है. This is the biggest problem that I have. So that is the two things that I would say. Thank you.
And same question to Mavinder sir means, Alok sir talked about the visibility, and I echo that thought. The more vigilant we should be, we should basically. Otherwise, this kind of low-level attacks having a big impact can brought down the operations, state operations. So, from your perspective, what do you think means the key important things?
Just adding what Alok sir has said, it's just that we must have an awareness in everyone, in our organization, as a country as a whole, what is the cyber security landscape, threat landscape, everything. Now let's say we have discussed it everything. Cyber security threat is there, everybody agrees to it. Everybody agrees to it that okay, we have to do something over there. That where is that ecosystem? Where is that product which need to be deployed in our system? Right now, 90 to 95% products, whether it is an OT security, whether it is an IT security, these are not made in India. And when these are not made in India, like I am extending his point, then when you are not manufacturing or producing any security agent itself, then your security deployment of that agent itself is a threat, be it of a state actor, be it of an agency outside of nation. So in my view, we should immediately act on something where we can start producing these products, these firewalls, these diodes and whatnot. Means we know there is a threat, we know there is awareness, but where do I purchase this product from in our own country, where I should deploy this and be sleeping in night tight that okay, now everything is secure. So in my view, this ecosystem of developing the cyber secure products itself is another challenge on this.
Got it, sir. And it's a long shot, I would rather say, but point to have, yeah.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. I have heard a lot of data diodes today. Fortunately, unfortunately, we buy data diodes for the name and the USP for which it sells. Please be mindful when you're procuring data diode that it works on UDP and not TCP. Because the minute you get a TCP, you have got an ACK coming back. And about 6 data diodes that I evaluated, 4 had TCP.
And I think this is more insightful thing which you have just mentioned, sir, because that is important. Similarly, means, okay, sir, what do you feel is that, okay, from your point of view, what important things which you want to have implemented?
I'll sum up in very few points. Our main priority now is to minimize your footprint on internet. And how do you do that? No, somebody hitting our on-prem device or in-prem application should be minimized. That how we are doing, we have taken web on cloud. All our applications are through that web. Now somebody comes, even authoritative DNS we have taken on cloud. Let me somebody come, go to cloud, then cloud web, then only sanitary traffic will come to our on-prem. That means no direct, even at a public level, there is no direct IP address, public IP address is exposed on of our network. So that is one thing, minimizing internet traffic. Then ZTNA part, somebody, that means there should not be any coming, it will only going out. Then third part in OT, all internet connectivity in IT and OT has to be hardened. That is the only way somebody can come in. No USB in IT, OT, we have restricted USB. So our primary aim is internal threats are still there, that will be there, that will be tackled, but first we need to secure from outside. Then we are also parallelly doing, but then what our approach is, if the administrator does something, nobody in the world can do something. If the server, administrator of the server who is assigned to do something and he does something bad, then it is very difficult to identify. That is a later thing, UEB and all, that also we are looking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And that's more technical to have that, yeah. But from that perspective, this is important. Again, means from Anwar sir, from your perspective also, the key things to implement as a part of, you see that, okay, you foresee as a need of hour.
Yeah, I believe the need of AI is to remain very simple. I'll just correlate with a few days back. I was just watching a IPL match when the batting team were requiring even less than run a ball to win. The batsmen thought they'll be very flamboyant and have big shots to win it quickly, and ultimately they lost. So it's happening in cybersecurity arena also, you know, without undermining any sort of requirement of cybersecurity. The threat landscape is very high, all those things. I am seeing that many a times the organizations are deploying lot of technologies without understanding whether the technology is really required, whether it is effective or not. So I do personally believe that the best thing is, first thing first, do a thorough risk assessment. Have you covered all your risk? Do you have the visibility? Have you covered all the risk? Do you have adequate control for the risk? If yes, then why to deploy for new just for the sake of technology, some new technology? But if not, accordingly, please deploy technology. And most important, I have seen with my experience, it's clearly a personal view, that most of the time we deploy technology, but we don't harness the features or the full capability of the technology. I have seen plenty of firewalls being implemented in many networks which are not been configured suitably. So whatever the technology you are using, please use or harness full potential of that technology. Step by step, as we all say in ISO term, we should have a continual improvement, not a continuous one. And if we can do that, obviously we can make ourselves safe and resilient. That is my key.
No, I echo your thought, because you see many of the people go via that, okay, if organization is doing something, implementing some technology, you need to have that, right? But that is not the way. You need to bring effectiveness also, wherein it being configured rightly or not. And from an optimization perspective also. Similarly, Sanket sir, what is your thought around it?
Yes, sir. So, in our organization, like, I'm not going to add to whatever has already been spoken. What we do is, we understood very initially that if we want to have a buy-in for cybersecurity, you need to first of all take the senior management in confidence. Because the moment you deploy a policy, you will get a list of people coming to you, I'm not able to work because you did this. And then, you know, all the dance will start. That I want an exception, I want my USB port to be enabled, my file size is 5 GB, how can I transfer it over internet or FTP? You know, all sort of things will come. So what we have done, every quarter, we have a session of cyber awareness from certain scientists to our board of directors. Whenever a board meeting is happening, we take half an hour before the meeting or after the meeting, we sensitize our board of directors, because one training in a year is not enough, because the kind of things you have sensitized your board about are now outdated in the next quarter. So there needs to be continual sensitivity with respect to cybersecurity. And then there are, RBI is pretty good in terms of putting those controls. RBI master directions are very good. RBI advisories are very good, which are aligned with certain. So because of that, it is kind of mandating that you need to have a IT strategy committee, which needs to be headed by an independent director. And you need to conduct such trainings to the IT strategy committee, and then the direction goes from top to bottom. So those people who come to you that I am having problem will not come. And obviously, security has got no end. So as an IT person, it's the balance which you need to have between security and convenience. Don't harden the system too much that people are not able to even work, or make it too simple that, you know, every person is able to hack into your system. So it's the balance, and it's a continuous process. You have to evaluate. As sir, everybody has said that, process continuous improvement and continual improvement is more important, rather than just, you know, buying things and implementing. So that's the key takeaway.
Thank you very much. From your point of view, management commitment and the way policy is getting implemented at the ground level, yeah, that's also a good thing. Similarly, sir, what do you think about that? Okay,
Sure. So everything has been touched upon it. Obviously, security is a top-driven, top-to-down function, and given the scenario where all tools are implemented now, the way ahead is to fine-tune them.
Yeah.
For example, I'll give a very basic scenario. If we were very good with the operating system, Microsoft itself provides a Defender. Why do we then need a separate antivirus? But almost all organizations are using that, right? So it's integrations without having the depth in each
Knowledge of-
technology.
yes.
And obviously, awareness is the key from top to the operational level, to the user level, and more importantly, to the other stakeholders like the customers in this case. And as sir rightly said earlier, I mean, especially securities, the awareness is much more needed for those at the heart of the security operations. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'll just try to add one simple thing. Every technology has backdoors and every technology has vulnerability. So if you really don't have that skill set to operate that technology, better not to adapt that rather than adapting that and making you more vulnerable. That is the point.
Thank you very much for that, for bringing that. To summarize means you understand, means all of you, because leaders have talked about their thoughts, their experience in terms of the cybersecurity need while we are into a journey of digital transformation. One perspective that, okay, I want to convey that, okay, they've talked about how we are actually adopting the technology and what all things required to bring more effectiveness into the implementation. One key thing is to take a step-by-step approach. First of all, analyze your infrastructure. What are you doing? What is the exposure to the infrastructure? You have heard about zero trust architecture, right? Verify everything which comes on your way. Then the organization policies comes in wherein you need to evaluate everything and then apply the least privilege. And one important thing which Alok sir have just mentioned, assume breach at every given point of time. With that, actually, I just want to thank all of you. Means it's very insightful knowledge which you have shared with us. Even I've got so many things to have that. And any questions from you? Anyone want to ask? That okay, you have the complete forum.
My question is to you. You said that you design the program or software first without considering the security. Why not? Why not? Security is one of the important components when you build up the software or program. It should be taken in the beginning itself.
I agree 100% with you, but practical realities, and it is the reality of almost, I can vouch from whatever things I have seen across multiple ministries, business utility takes precedence. कुछ भी बना के कल सुबह रोल आउट करो और अगर कल सुबह कुछ भी बना के रोल आउट करना है तो उसमें सिक्योरिटी तो नहीं होगा. That is a bitter reality, the bitter pill. We love it, we hate it. That is the way it is.
But being a technologist, we should make decision makers aware that it should not be.
No, I think there is a beautiful side to it. The world is moving on economies. If that utility is not there, it is not servicing people. There is no ideal solution. मैं कहाँ तक उसको secure? Give me a solution which says 100% secure. नहीं आएगा. So I might as well push out with 10% secure, 100% utility, and gradually scale it up towards security. So that is the bitter reality where I am forced to do this, and business is priority. Security is secondary. Security at the end of the day is supposed to aid business. Security is to ensure that you don't lose revenues. And to give you a classic example, the best and the worst of the incident that you have ever heard of cybersecurity breach in this world, look at the share price of that company on that day. Day of event, it drops. And after 5 days, it will come back to normal. That means it's a risk which has been factored in by the management. You can look at it that way also. At the end of the day, cybersecurity is a risk, business risk. And if I factor that in, कि ठीक है, if my friend over here in PNB says कि मैं साल का 1,000 crore रुपए का loss लूँगा, कोई problem नहीं, I'll write it off. So he's taken 1,000 crore का risk ले लिया.
So my take is basically who are designing the program, they try to utmost precaution, but some other unknown attack may happen that which cannot be foreseen at the time of developing.
It is time and space. I will only say that much. There are business pressures. मुझे पता है, everyone sitting over here is talking security. Everyone is managing the IT and security, which is all in itself a conflict of interest in the respective organizations. पता है, लेकिन कल सुबह क्या करना है, उसमें मुझे कौन सा hat पहले पहनना है, that is more important. Thank you.
And just to answer your thing, okay, one product can be foolproof, secured, but there are integrations. A product or a particular software cannot run off its own. if had to be, because that's where we are discussing about interoperability, integrations. All those vulnerabilities are always there. So we need to be more vigilant, and the way, and means from the framework perspective also, there are frameworks, SDLC. If you go by OT, industrial control system also framework, which gives you a testing, you can say that requirement to have that. Until unless your product is not certified, you can't actually roll into the business, right? Even few of the RFPs, people were not able to bid that. So it is, controls are there, but from an integration perspective, anyway, we need to have that. That's what Alok sir have just mentioned. Anyone having?
I do have something to add on to what sir said. I'll give a very basic, एकदम layman example. बिजनेस से ऑपरेशनल रिक्वायरमेंट आती है कि मुझे तेज जाना है, आई नीड स्पीड. तो आई क्रिएटेड अ बाइसिकल. सिक्योरिटी, साइबर सिक्योरिटी इन दिस पर्सपेक्टिव विल बी द ब्रेक्स ऑफ दैट साइकिल. वो बाद में आते हैं. वंस द साइकिल इज क्रिएटेड, आप देखते हो 2 बार टक्कर खाते हो, उसके बाद ही ब्रेक आते हैं. सो दैट इज वेयर साइबर सिक्योरिटी इज इम्प्लीमेंटेड इन अ डिजाइन इन एनी बिजनेस और ऑपरेशन.
Any more questions? Okay. If not, then we are good. Thank you all, and thank you very much, sir.